Stay tuned for Airgun Detectives. Stay tuned for Airgun Detectives.
Birthday to you.
Stay tuned for Airgun Detectives if you want to.
Welcome to another episode of Airgun Detectives. I'm your host, JC. Today, we're going to take the mystery out of the SIG Sauer MCX Virtus PCP. Yes, again, we got to take the mystery out of it. This is batch 2. I originally had the batch 1. We reviewed that back in February 2020. Before we get started here, though, a couple things. Number one, I want to thank so many of you for leaving me such great messages in regards to both the virus that I had and then the passing of my mother. In fact, that was the intro we had there. Those were a couple of intros I hadn't played. But I do have something special for you guys. At the end of this video, after the credits close, the whole bit, right after that, I'm going to have some outtakes of little Sally, which we call her, my mother, of when we were filming some of these intros. And some of them you'll find pretty humorous, but it's pretty cute overall. But so stay tuned. At the end of the episode, after the credits, you'll be able to see that. So if you hang in there. All right. So let's get back to this. First of all, if you hadn't, do me a favor, hit that little subscribe button down there below if you'd like to subscribe. Appreciate it. Don't forget to check out my website, www.airgundetectives.com. I'm running a sale on t-shirts. I've got some air guns on there. I've got some air pistols on there. And the best part, Generation 2 bipods, they're out. And I'm going to do a separate video highlighting exactly what the upgrades are and what we did in the whole process of getting those. And we'll even go over the instruction of how to mount them again. We'll cover all that. Anyway, but let's get back to our SIG Virtus. As again I said earlier, this was originally, I reviewed this back in February in 2020, and mine actually performed quite well, and you can see that by the video. There are, I guess, some people that had the rifle and it didn't perform so well, so they tried to upgrade it. So SIG finally, in full disclosure here, SIG sent this to me. So they finally sent me a version 2. Now, what they were supposed to upgrade on this per SIG was they added an 11 millimeter outside diameter inner barrel here to create more stability, hoping to give it better accuracy. They were supposed to improve the feed belt on these things, because you guys know how these operate. These work with a 30 round belt. I'll show you this. These have a 30 round belt here that you drop your pellets into, and then as you pull the trigger, it advances the belt. It's actually a pretty cool setup. They were all supposed to also improve the inner valve to give it more velocity. And then also they were going to update the trigger for a better feel. So those are the things that they were supposed to cover in batch number 2. But like anything else, we're going to see what the difference is. So I'm actually going to show you how the other rifle performed, and then I'm going to compare it to this one, and we're going to go through the whole gamut, and we can make a conclusion for ourselves. So after we go through all that, we can talk about it. Basic specs, this is, for those of you that didn't see the previous video, the 22 caliber. This is a semi-automatic, has the 30 round belt. It's 22 caliber, again, I'm going to say that. It's has a 13 cubic inch cylinder right here. Fills to 3,000 PSI. The claim velocity on this, they say up to 700 feet per second. That's what they're claiming. And they actually say it right on the box. It's updated right here on the box, right in here. And basically what it says is 9 grain pellet, it'll go up to 775 feet per second, a 12 grain around 670, and a 14 grain right around 620. But we're going to test it and we'll see how close they are. So like I said, we're going to compare this version 2. They call it the second batch, but I'm going to just call it version 2. And we'll compare version 2 to version 1. We'll see how well it performs, and then we'll come back like we always do, and we'll talk about it. So I was waiting for a long time for this. I waited over a year to get this gun to see how it performs. And if you'll notice in the first video, regardless, I absolutely love this gun. I mean, full disclosure, I love this gun. But we'll let's see how well it performs. Then we'll come back and we'll chat about it at the end. All right. Oh, one other thing. I'm inside right now because heavy winds and a couple other things are going to affect basically my conversation with you. So stay tuned for the next segment. Let's see how our version 2 does over the Croning. But before I actually show you, I want you guys to look real quick at how it did in our last review. Shot number 1, 651. Shot number 2, 667. Shot number 3, 650. Shot number 4, 663. Shot number 5, 667, and one more shot, 662. And there you have it. There's your average velocity for our SIG Virtus PCP. Okay, so now you guys saw how the performance was previously. So in all fairness, I'm going to shoot 5 shots with the same pellets that we did at that time, the GTOs. And then I'm going to put up on the screen how it performed with some basic Crossman, the domed Ultra Magnums. They're just a 14.3 grain pellet. So we'll see how well it performs with that. And just for fun, I'll throw an 18 grain pellet in there too. So as soon as this is, we're done with this, I'm going to display what the velocities were on those two. So let's see how we do. All right, we're fully charged up here. And let's get going. All right, shot number 1. And that's 682. Shot number 2, 654. Shot number 3, 679. Shot number 4, 667. And last but not least, shot number 5, 686. Okay, so you can see we're into the mid to upper 600s, which is similar before. Now take a look how it did with the 14.3s and now the 18 grains. So pretty similar. Anyway, let's move on to the next segment. All right, now for our accuracy test version 2. We're our usual 20 yards. Go ahead and take a look. Now let's go ahead and then look back and see how well the version 1 did real quick, and then we'll come back and do this. So you saw how that rifle did, not too bad. Okay, in version 2's defense, it's a little windy today, but what I'm going to do is I'm going to shoot the same GTO non-lead pellets. We'll shoot 5 shots with that, then I'll change magazines out, and we'll go ahead and we'll shoot 5 shots with the Crossman, and we'll see how both those targets do real quick. But let's start with the GTOs. Now keep in mind, this shoots a little different with the GTOs than it does the lead, and I'm not going to readjust the scope. So remember, we're going for grouping here. This is just grouping. All right. Let's get up close on that target. There we go. All right. All right, there's 5 shots with the GTO, the non-lead. Let's move on and we'll try the Crossmans real quick and see how that does. All right, let's see how well these Crossmans do. We'll do 5 shots, just like the other. All right, here's 5 shots with the Crossman. Those are our 14.3, the lead ones. All right, let's move on to the next segment. Okay, let's see how our version 2 does as far as trigger weight goes. First of all, let's go ahead and show you how it did last time. All right. Okay, that shows a 9-pound, 9-ounce trigger. Okay, now we're going to show you how it does this time. We have our trusty Lyman trigger gauge here. Set that to go. Let's see how well we do. All right. All right. That was 7 pounds. I'd say we got a little bit of an improvement there. Okay, let's move on to the next segment. Now we're going to show you what this rifle is really designed for. It's designed for having fun and plinking. 30-round magazine. We're going to go ahead and shoot some various little targets. We're our same 20 yards back, and let's see how well we do. But this is exactly what this gun's designed for. All right, I'm going to start at the bottom row, and we'll work our way over. Okay. How about that little guy there? What is that? Oh, Darth Vader. Another shotgun shell. Big monster. And let's see if we get that pellet can on its side there. That's what this gun is designed for. What a blast. This thing is so much fun. All right, let's move on to the next segment. All right, let's wrap this up with our conclusion here, and be patient with me. I've got a lot of information to share with you, so we'll try to go over it strategically as we can. I still love this gun. Keep that in mind. All right, so how did version 2 do overall? Okay, let's talk about it. Accuracy. Well, version 1, we had like, with the GTO pellets, we had like 0.69 of an inch center 5-shot group. This version we had about 3/4 of an inch, and we did it with lead pellets. The difference I noticed with this version compared to it shoots lead pellets better. So you're going to expect anywhere between 3/4 of an inch and an 1.5 inch group, regardless what you're shooting. And I went through, I'm going to tell you, I spent probably a good 10 days with this, shooting targets like you can't believe. I mean, look at some of these patterns. I went through every type of pellet that I had, which is quite a few. But if you'll notice the patterns on these, you'd get 2 or 3, even when we tested it right here live for you, you'll get 2 or 3 shots in the same spot, and all of a sudden there'll be 2 shots in a different spot. And I'm telling you, that baffled me of why I couldn't get this to group more. I even had another one of my airgun detective buddies come over, and he even shot the rifle, and he ended up with the same results that I did. But I literally went through hundreds and hundreds of rounds to try to figure this thing out. So part of it I was thinking, as in the original one, was possibly the grooves that the belt puts into the pellets, because it actually deforms them a little bit. And I noticed that in the first version, that seemed to be the issue. But no, not with this one. I would get a good group at a certain position in the belt, and I would actually take the belt, let me pull this out. I would take the belt out, and let's say I had 5 good shots. So I would take a Sharpie and I would mark where the 5 good shots were, and I would reload only that section and shoot it again, and I would have different results. So, and they weren't horrible results. Like I said, this isn't a match rifle. We're not going to be doing, match type paperwork with this in some type of competition. But anyway, so as far as the accuracy goes, it improved with the lead. but not the GTO pellets. The GTO, it just seemed to be, and I'm going to talk about this in a little bit. I have a theory on this gun, but we'll get to it in a second. So the accuracy, I would say it improved with the lead, but didn't improve with the other. So we'll just say the accuracy is about the same. 3.69, 3/4 of an inch. And I loved it because it's shooting the Crosman Premiers, the Premier hollow points and the domed ones actually really well. That's what I use to do, obviously, our test there. So you know, inexpensive pellets are always great, especially when you're going through 30 rounds at a time. Okay, how about velocity? What they said is they readdressed the inner valve, and I'm going to bring the inner valve up here in a minute. Version 1, 662 feet per second on average. Version 2, 673 feet per second. So there definitely was a little bit of an increase. And if you want to call 10 feet per second an increase, well, that's up to you. Foot-pounds of energy, no matter what, we're getting about 12 foot-pounds of energy. I showed you that. When we shot the Crossmans, we averaged almost 12 and a half at about 626 feet per second, but it's right on what SIG was telling us we would get the velocity right on the box. Then I went even to the 18 grains, and we were getting over 12 and a half foot-pounds of energy at about 560 feet per second. So I would say, you know, the velocity was there. It's exactly what they're saying. So there's no surprise there. How'd we do with our trigger? Trigger is definitely improved. It was 2 pounds lighter than the previous model that we shot. You saw that. It went from a 9 ounce to 7 pound. So there was definitely a difference there. Okay, now I'm going to come back into what I think there might have been some issues with. Okay, I charted this, and I'm going to show you the chart here. I charted this from shot number 1 at 3,000 PSI, and I wanted to see how far I can go. I shot 195 shots. I'm not kidding you, 195 shots. I was astounded because I kept filling these belts up, and it kept going, and it kept going. So we had a high velocity shooting the Crossman 14.3s. We had a high velocity of 640 feet per second. We had a low velocity of 545 feet per second, and that was right towards the end where it was falling off. But this is a regulated gun, so it's supposed to be regulated at 1200 PSI, somewhere around there. So regardless, you get a lot of shots. This is really frugal when it comes to air. You're going to get a minimum, regardless of your gun, I'm convinced, you're going to get a minimum of 5 full 30-round magazines. Okay, what I noticed was different about this gun and the other is the deviation, the standard deviation. Deviation is how they measure each shot what the velocity is. When I charted this, I had some shots that were in the low 6s, and then it would drop into the high 5s. A normal good regulated deviation is, you know, less than about 15 feet per second. That would be kind of a normal one that you could go through and say, okay, as long as it's within that 15 feet per second. And most of the shots were, but every once in a while you'll shoot 2 or 3 shots, it'll be at this feet per second, and all of a sudden one will drop. And that made me start thinking, that's probably why this gun groups so well with a couple of shots, and then you'll get a couple of other shots that are off target. It's the only thing that I can explain. Because the belt, we tested that with the grooves in the pellets, it didn't make any difference. But I'm thinking it's the standard deviation. Maybe this gun has a faulty valve. I don't know. Part of me, I don't think so, because SIG's claiming you're going to get anywhere between inch to inch and a half at 20 yards. We did a little bit better than that. So what is really amazing, though, is the shot count. But again, I'm going to talk about maybe that inner regulator isn't regulating just as best as it could, and that could explain for the difference in the patterns of shots. It just happens. The other thing I want to talk about, this thing is really cool. By the way, I tried for accuracy wise. The great thing about this is a 1/2x28, which is pretty standard. Okay, threaded barrel. So you can take this little muzzle brake off, and you can change it out. You can put a bigger one on there. You can do smaller one. I even went with an air stripper. So what I did is I ordered this. This is a 1/2x28 UNEF adapter. So then this is like the standard air gun stripper. So you can actually get an adapter for this, and that threads right on there. And then you can add your other accessories. So those go on there just like that. I'm not going to go through the whole process. But anyway, I tried air strippers. I tried a couple different brands, different styles, and it really did not make a whole lot of difference with the accuracy. It didn't. But the cool thing is you can absolutely accessorize this. And there are some of those air strippers that also reduce the sound that do quite well on here. And you can get the, like I said, if you get this little adapter, you can actually get the air gun muzzle brake or silencer, whatever you want to call it. It's for an air gun, not a firearm. Keep that in mind. And you can get this little adapter, and you can actually put the air gun ones on here. Or you can just make it look fancy with any of these others, so that's nice. Another good thing is these magazines, not a bad deal, okay? You can see that. Yeah, so you can get another magazine and 3 belts, because you just change the belts on that, for around 25 bucks. So that's a pretty inexpensive magazine if you consider how much those little rotary magazines for some of those other guns cost. Those are crazy expensive. Again, the gun does not come with the optics, okay? It does not come with the bipods. By the way, these are my new updated bipods. I told you I'm gonna do a separate video with these. But this has an M-lock system on it. But I actually used the key mods to go in there. I was very careful with it. I don't know if you're familiar with it. It was basically a nut. I had to kind of flip the gun sideways and then kind of hold the nut up with a screwdriver and put them in, but it mounted up just fine. But so these bipods will work on here as well, which is great. You just either have to get the key mod bolts or the M-locks, I should say. In fact, I have a bunch of key mods, so if you guys happen to buy a set of these, send me a separate email and I'll throw in some of the key mods. Like I said, they're a little bit of a trick to it. You got to kind of hold the nut up with a screwdriver. You got to slide it through the frame to get it behind there and then tighten it up. But they work great. They actually do. Well, I'll let you guys be the judge if you think there was a big improvement with batch 2. I can tell you this much. I love this rifle. At this price point, think about it. It's 300 bucks. You get a spare magazine for 25 bucks. It comes with 3 belts. You can get minimum of 150 shots out of it. And what is this designed for? Let's face it. It's designed, as I showed you, for plinking. You can do very small game pest control type things with it. You're going to be able to do that. And the great thing about having a PCP, you have no lack in velocity with your follow-up shots like you would with the CO2. So at this price point, the cool factor on this, there's just nothing else like it out there. So as far as my rating goes, I'm just going to leave my rating the same as I did in the first video, because nothing's really changed my mind for this. So, I mean, safely, depending on the gun that you get, I'm sure it would be somewhere between a 4.5 and a 5. I gave the first one a 5 just because of the uniqueness, and I don't know. I love this type of style of rifle, and I love the way you can accessorize it. And these are metal, by the way, pop-up sights, the peep sights, and peep sights are always fun to shoot with. I hope you enjoyed this episode of Airgun Detectives. Don't forget, subscribe, check out my website. I'm putting more and more inventory on there, and I'm honestly having some pretty good deals and some air rifles and pistols on there. So check out the website, www.airgundetectives.com. I got t-shirts. They're pretty much on sale right now. So take a look at those. And my bipod kits, I said I'm going to come up with a separate video for that. Don't forget to stay tuned. After the conclusion of this, we're going to have some outtakes of little Sally in her memory. So anyway, again, I want to thank you guys once again for just the support, the tremendous support. You are some amazing, amazing people out there. You really are. And give yourselves credit. It really reinforced my belief in mankind. It really did, to be honest with you, and all the support that I got. So until next time, don't forget, this is where we take the mystery out of the air gun.
got to get rid of this. Okay. Stay tuned for air gun detective. Okay.
That was beautiful. Okay, action, go.
You've got to get rid of this. Okay. Stay tuned now for Airgun Detectives.
Okay, go ahead.
Oh. You have to get rid of this. Stay tuned for Airgun Detectives. Where do you want these guns? Where do you want these guns? Okay. So, stay
Okay.
tuned for...
Airgun detective. Let's try that one more time.
Where do you want these guns? Okay, now stay tuned for Airgun Detectives. Where do you want these guns? Okay. Stay tuned for Airborne Detectives. Where do you want these guns? Okay, now stay tuned for Airborne Detectives. Stay tuned for Airgun Detectives. Where do you want these guns? Now, stay tuned for Airgun Detectives. Where do you want these guns? Stay tuned now for Airgun Detectives. Stay tuned for Airgun Detectives.
Good, but I need the gun up here so they can see the gun.
Oh,
Don't forget that.
oh yeah.
Let's try it again.
Stay tuned for Airgun Detectives.
Okay, roll it up again. Let's do it one more time.
Stay tuned for Airgun Detectives.
One more time, but I need the gun up higher. If you have to, just hold it up like that.
Okay.
That might be easier. Just hold it up like that. So
Okay.
when you roll the window down, bring the gun up and say, turn your head, because you're talking to me, and you're going to say, stay tuned to Airgun Detectives.
Stay tuned for Airgun Detectives.
Okay, now, you think you can aim it and shoot it?
Shall I shoot it now?
Yeah, but I don't want you to do it. No, hold on. Yeah, I want you to shoot it, and then, not yet, not until I say go. And then when you're done shooting, keep the gun pointed in that direction. Just turn your head and say, stay tuned for Airgun Detectives, okay?
Yep.
Okay, go ahead.
Shoot it.
Yep. Yes.
Stay tuned for Airgun Detectives.
Okay, just pretend you're reading, and then what I want you to do is kind of set the gun down, or set the book down, and then pull that gun out and go, stay tuned for Airgun Detectives. But hold on. Okay, go ahead.
Stay tuned for Airgun Detectives. Now,
Yeah, go ahead.
stay tuned for Airgun Detectives.
Fantastic. And turn and say stay. No, you got to do a curl first. So when you pick
Stay tuned for Airgun Detectives.
No, you're gonna keep them down here at your side.
Oh, okay.
Keep them down your side, and then you're just gonna curl one like this.
Okay.
See, so you're gonna
My right
yeah,
hand.
Yeah, you're gonna turn this way.
Yes.
Which hand's stronger? Which one would you rather do it in?
Well, this is my stronger
Okay.
hand.
So yeah. So then what you're gonna do is just curl that one up.
Stay tuned for Airgun Detectives.
Perfect.
Just the one.
Perfect.
Stay tuned for Airgun Detectives.
Day to you.
Oh, that was so nice of you. Thank you.
Blow out your candles.
Oh. Is that the end? Oh, good.
Stay tuned for Airgun. No, I gotta say, stay tuned for Airgun Detectives.
Sorry you ever got into that.
Ready? Happy birthday to you.
Oh, stay tuned for Airgun Detectives if you want to.